President, Congress. Good afternoon. Christina McAnea, General Secretary of UNISON. I really wish I could stand here with a good news story and start conference off in an upbeat way. But after 13 years of Tory government, there's little chance of that happening. There's not a single part of our public services that have escaped Tory rule and Tory cuts. What started in 2010 has now resulted in the longest NHS waiting list in history, huge cuts to our police and criminal justice services, councils going bust, including the largest in Europe, and care services that can't deliver for patients, for their families, or for the workforce. But they can deliver huge profits for offshore private equity trusts. And now prisoners escaping, schools crumbling, although not all schools. I'm pretty sure that Eton, Harrow and Winchester will probably escape that. So let's lay the blame for this very squarely where it deserves to be, at the door of the Westminster government run by the Tories. Millions of NHS workers and the patients who rely on them need a government that won't run down the NHS. Thousands of school staff, pupils and their families want a government that invests in our schools, our children's safety and their futures. Workers across all public services and everyone who relies on them can see how austerity fractures and smashes our economy. If you hand the Conservatives power, if you enable them into government, you always get the same results. It's the same old Tories. And after 13 years of Tory failures in Westminster, our economy is weaker, our living standards are lower, and our country is poorer. Britain is broken. And when you slash public spending, the foundation of our public services, they crumble on top of us, literally, in some cases. Yet when the government cut schools' budgets in half, they were taken by surprise by the fact that schools couldn't afford to do repairs. When they cut council funding, they're then shocked when councils go bust. And when they cut the number of PCSOs on our streets, they seem baffled by the fact that crime isn't going down. This is the most venal, corrupt, inept government I have ever known in my entire life. They're only concerned with boosting profits of offshore companies and private equity. Their relentless assault on public services has meant they were always the first to be cut. And the government point their finger at public sector workers, demanding decent pay rises, and accuse them, us, of making inflation go up. Public sector pay rises don't fuel inflation. Tax loopholes for big oil and gas companies, booming corporate profits, and tax cuts for the wealthiest in this nation, that's what boosts inflation in this country. All political choices that this government keeps making. But to grow the economy, to deliver better living standards and to fix Britain, we must first build strong public services. The public are relying on the trade union movement to stand up for our services, our economy and our country. Like the dedicated clinical support workers, UNISON members who are taking strike action this week in the Wirral, and I'll be there on Tuesday morning on the picket line with them. Congress, this could be our last conference before the general election, and as we get closer to that election, the Labour and the trade union movement must put forward policies of hope for the British people. We must keep our focus on making sure working life can be made better by a Labour government. We must make sure our members and the British public never forget that it's the Tories who've caused this chaos, the Tories who've caused this crisis, the Tories who've choked our economy. The only lifeline for our shared prosperity is a united Labour and trade union movement. strong, focused on earning the trust of British people, hungry for a better Britain and determined to deliver it. Conference, I hope when we come back here next year, we do have something to celebrate. We do have a message of hope, because we will have kicked the Tories out of Westminster. Thank you.